Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. My special guest today, Chris Tripoli. He is a restaurateur. He's an advisor. He really can help you if you are opening a concept. You have questions about it, your current restaurant concept, or need any help. You can find him at christripoli.com or the restaurantclinic.com. Welcome back, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So we talked about your best service experience. Well, did you have a worse service experience? Like just
Oh, oh,
terrible
oh,
customers?
absolutely. You just can't be in this business without having those things. But the way I look at it is those really bad experiences can somehow be grasped and turn into some type of a progressive situation. There's always a way of making something positive out of it. That's what I tell clients when I work with them today. I always like to share the story of how people in this business develop the ability to have two conversations at one time. We have the inside conversation, and then we have the outside conversation with the guest. When times are difficult, when you're presented with a horrible situation, here, I'll share one. I'll just fall on the sword. I did it myself. When it was a restaurant I owned, it was a real busy Friday lunch. I'm working expo. The food's coming out. It's hot. It's going out. It's quick. And so later when it slows down, I'm walking through the dining room, touching tables, telling people to save room for dessert, all the right stuff. And this one lady right in the middle of the dining room tells me, well, lunch would have been better, but her rosemary chicken was cold. Okay, so here's the bad service tip. You've got to learn in this business very quickly that the best decisions have absolutely nothing to do with right or wrong. They all have what to do with what works. What works in that situation isn't right or wrong. It's I've got to turn this into a great situation. Oh, big sincere apology. I'm so sorry. Let me take that off your table. Now, of course, she starts backing up, Oh, no, I just wanted to tell you. No, I insist. We shouldn't serve cold food here. I don't know how that got by. I'm going to take this off the ticket. Hey, you ladies, everyone needs to end this lunch with a really good, taste in the mouth, free desserts for everybody. So I'm going overboard because what she doesn't realize is I'm not really talking to her. I'm playing to the dining room. This is a bad service experience, and I'm trying to turn it into a marketing experience where they see we go over the top here. Now, the inside voice is saying, there's no way in hell that chicken is cold. There's no way. My fingers are still tingling from the plate. I saw it come out of the oven. I put it on the plate. It took 40 seconds to get to the table, but that's what we say on the inside. On the outside, it's all about what's going to work. So yeah, when I think about bad service experiences, that one always comes up, and it's all in the way you kind of spin it. If somebody's listening today and they think, God, that happens to me, but my owner doesn't want us to give away things. He knows they're just trying to get something for free. We shouldn't promo the dessert. No, hogwash. This is marketing money. This is smart money. When that lady goes to the dining room, you make sure everyone sees you trotting over to her and giving her a gift card so that when she comes back, she gets the entree on the house. Now add up what all that cost. The food cost of the free dessert, the free meal coming back in. It's not a lot of money, and you code it to marketing. And then, of course, the bottom line, too, is, as you probably know, when people do come in, typically because they're special, they have an award, or they're going to eat for free, they typically don't do that by themselves. See, so she's going to come in later with maybe three friends, and she doesn't really know that the money I made off of those three friends probably covered the GC that I gave her. So it'll all work. But yeah, it's a tough part of our business where you're going to be faced with poor service or a service situation that just goes wrong. And I've been in many, but the best advice is to find a way of just making it work. Don't try to think about right or wrong. Just what works.
Take yourself out of the equation and put yourself in their shoes, or where they're at. And you're right. I mean, that's the best way to bring everybody back and turn it all around. I always used to do that. Was a challenge, for me as a server, was kill them with kindness kind of mentality. And if the more angry they are with you, just be kind and take care of them. And eventually they typically walk out thinking, I was the ass there. He was a great server.
The customer isn't always right. That's not the point. They're always the customer, though. So, you want them to come back and you want them to spend more. So that's why you do this.
Did you agree with my thought in the beginning, the quote, that everybody should work in a restaurant because of various reasons, but you
I think you're
learn
right.
so much. I mean,
Yeah, I think you're right on it. Yeah, because the certain amount of people handling, the situations like you described, the multitasking that goes on, I think those are traits that will help you no matter what you wind up doing. So yeah, spending some time where you are serving the public and you're trying to balance the tasks. You're also learning interesting
Right.
things about food and beverage and culinary trends. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you learn sales techniques. You learn how to work with people. You'll use that in anywhere you go in any business and life. Um, Etiquette, dining etiquette. You know, how helpful is that? That's come in so helpful for me through the years at a party or, somebody being a guest somewhere else. Yeah, there's so many things that you can learn from the hospitality business and being, you know, a server, a busboy, a chef, a manager, all of it. You learn so much that are life skills, I think, that you can
Yeah.
apply to your daily life after you leave, if you leave the business. You didn't leave the business. So did it
No,
choose you or did you choose it or
I
the
really
first one?
think, no, I think I made that early connection that I was always going to be doing something in hospitality. I was challenged at first by restaurants, how the units work, the systems behind the scenes, how, the people side, the product side, the process and procedures. So at first it was all about unit operations and managing. However, then my interest grew more into consumer trends and how can I jump into that? I want to be more creative. How can I do something on my own? And so small business ownership, the idea of what I learned along the time of my business ownership just morphed me into doing the consulting and the development work. And that just opened the doors to other opportunities like working with municipalities on planning, food service programs. And one of my most positive memories was the opportunity I had in the 90s when this movement was just beginning to work with small, individually owned, mostly minority owned businesses into getting them into a world that they were not able to compete in before, like airports, arenas, stadiums, parks, etc. And so being able to work with traditional small businesses and putting them into non-traditional situations like busy stadiums, little chef-driven concepts, and then being able to throw them into a couple of airports. See, that was like the next step. And so I was always been in the hospitality business, just different things. And then this last step, getting more into the education side, what a ball that is. You mentioned restaurantowner.com, and yeah, it is, I think, the single greatest site on the web today for information that's helpful to somebody who's trying to operate better or grow, or the dreamer, can't wait to quit his sales job because he wants to open his first restaurant. Go there, read, download, get educated. I love, working there, and I do webinars for them and contribute content and things. And that's what got me into doing the SBA, web-based learning. Now I'm teaching clients and advisors on consumer trends and operating best practices of restaurants because they need to know that when they're working with restaurant clients, mostly trying to get SBA funding. So, so it just kind of morphed different areas, but all in the same industry.
What do you notice? What's maybe the top thing, if you can define it for me, the top reason that restaurants fail from an ownership side? What do they do wrong?
Wow. Yeah, that's a
I mean, I
toughie.
know there's a lot, but
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of times it isn't like they thought. It isn't that they didn't raise enough money. I mean, a lot of times that's the first thing they would tell me is, I got to close. I really thought, I could make it. I ran out of money. I can't hold on. And then we go through their planning and we go through their business plan and we go through their budget. And I realized that, really at one time, your idea and your budget did make sense. You didn't manage your time correctly, or you got off track. So I guess to put this into one, I would say consistency. I think that's the
yeah,
single biggest thing that restaurants need to realize, that what they're doing is creating a story. It isn't just the food, it isn't just the service, but they've got to create an entire experience. Now, it has to be something that if someone really enjoys on a Tuesday, they come back with friends next week, Thursday, and they get that experience. So
absolutely.
if you're not consistent and you can't do that, sooner or later, you're going to trip over and you're going to be losing volume. And then, as you've seen, then you start losing your good people when you start losing volume. And once you start losing, it's like a snowball that's just,
Yeah.
rolling downhill. So if you're creating something out there and you're listening to this, ask yourself if you're going to be able to do whatever it is you're wanting to do on a consistent basis.
And I think that applies. It's a great answer and so true. It applies on the operation side as well, where the consistency starts to fall apart. That I see as the owners start to throw out, they start losing a little money and get a little panicked, and they start to throw out the things that work for them, like their recipes or menu costing or training. Usually goes first, training the
It
employees
does.
properly,
Good
and
point. It does.
that all ties in with consistency. You won't have it if you throw away the key items that you need to run, that you determined originally, as you said, to that would make you successful, and maybe it did make you successful, but you get tired. When you own a restaurant, you've got to be there too. I really believe you've got to have the systems, but you've got to, and that consistency, but you've got to show up as well and make sure they
That's
stay.
another one of those first manager lessons I learned. He said, if you're serious about this business, someday you're going to own one. Remember this. It's a people business, so trust your people. You got to be there, but you got to trust your people. He said, but just because you trust your people, you got to remember, put your faith in the systems.
You sound like
And I
you
thought, yeah,
learned a
so
lot.
that's the only way to be consistent.
You learned a lot of good things from that guy. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, Chris Tripoli, he is my special guest today. Go to christripoli.com or therestaurantclinic.com. You can find him on Instagram at Chris Tripoli FCSI and on LinkedIn at Chris Tripoli. You can call him. He'd love to hear from you. If you need some help, you need some advice, he's the guy to call. Chris Tripoli, 832-453-2534. And you can email him, chris@christripoli.com. The Corner Booth Podcast, candid conversations with today's restaurant entrepreneurs. I found it and subscribed on Apple Podcasts, and you can too. We'll be right back with more by Chris Tripoli.